I think that the degree to which people speak about
psychedelic flashbacks.
You crack your spine someday and everything just comes flooding back and you have an intense psychedelic experience out of nowhere because it's still in your system. I don't necessarily think that that's legit. I think that a lot of that is super, super overblown. Hey y'all, what's up, what's good? It's Chrysanthilus. Thank you so much for joining me again today, and welcome to The Realm. If you're new here, welcome. This realm is full of fun educational videos all about psychedelics and plant medicine, as well as psychedelic culture and cultural events like Burning Man. So I'm so happy to have you here, and if you dig this video, please consider subscribing at the end of it. And before we get started today, I just have to add that this video is for educational purposes only. I am not promoting the use of any substance or plant medicine. I encourage everyone to do their own research and prioritize harm reduction. Today, I'm going to be counting down my top 5 myths about magic mushrooms. Let's hop right into it. Number 5, they're dangerous. My number 5 myth about magic mushrooms is that they're dangerous. Now this comes with a caveat. I cover this in my other magic mushroom videos. Psilocybin-containing mushrooms can be dangerous for folks who have underlying mental health conditions such as schizophrenia. There is also evidence that people specifically taking SSRIs could suffer a cancellation effect where they basically don't experience any journeying at all, or in a minority of people, serotonin syndrome. However, if you do not fall under either of those categories and you employ proper setting, preparation, all the good things I've been talking about on this channel, mushrooms are not going to be inherently dangerous for you. Now, where do we hear mushrooms are dangerous? Well, you're probably not hearing it so much in the media anymore. We have scientific evidence, in fact, that backs up the idea that they are not only not dangerous, but also beneficial, does not possess a risk of overdose. You cannot die from psilocybin-containing mushrooms. So where are we hearing mushrooms are dangerous? Well, you can actually look directly at the drug classification in the US to figure out where this is coming from, right? Mushrooms are currently a Schedule 1 drug. I get into this a bit in my other video, so you can check this out. But a Schedule 1 drug, what does it mean?
Drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Some examples of Schedule 1 drugs are heroin, lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD, marijuana, cannabis, MDMA, methaqualone, and peyote.
And if we go over that list one by one, you'll see that so much of that has already been disproven in the research trials. So how do we fix this? When we're talking about medicine, right? When we're talking about traditional plant medicine, things that literally grow of the earth, we definitely shouldn't criminalize them. And I think that the drug classification of magic mushrooms gives everybody the wrong idea, the wrong impression about them. They are, for the most part, by far, not dangerous. At least in the way that we use that term to describe different substances. Number 4, psychedelics will give you flashbacks.
The sensation of re-experiencing the effects of a drug after the true effects of the drug have worn off, typically in an unwanted manner.
Have I ever had a flashback? No. Do I know anyone who has ever had a flashback? No. From my understanding, if you're having flashbacks, there's a good chance you took something that was not tested. For people who have what are known as acid flashbacks, a lot of those folks took research chemicals that they do not know the name of under the guise of acid, which is why it's very important to test your chemicals, first off. But are they not real? Do flashbacks exist? It's giving unclear. Shrug. I don't know. I think that the degree to which people speak about
Psychedelic flashbacks.
You crack your spine someday and everything just comes flooding back and you have an intense psychedelic experience out of nowhere because it's still in your system. I don't necessarily think that that's legit. I think that a lot of that is super, super overblown. Sometimes, you know, if you're smoking cannabis, for example, you might start to see a little visualization that's reminiscent of magic mushrooms. I personally have had that before. Some swirly visualizations, some symmetry where there isn't supposed to be symmetry, that sort of thing. However, when we hear people talk about flashbacks, that's not typically what they're describing. They're not describing light visualizations they're seeing in their carpets. They're describing full-blown, overwhelming experiences that hit them at a very inconvenient time. Flashbacks have been studied. Flashbacks are believed to be potentially a form of PTSD and not an actual reaction to a substance. Anyways, you will most likely not get flashbacks if you partake in psychedelics. And if you do partake in psychedelics and you do test the psychedelics, you have a much smaller chance, if any, of having a flashback at all. Flashbacks are something that I grew up hearing about, and that was always the reason like I never wanted to try psychedelics. And then when I started to get to know people in real life who had tried psychedelics, they're like, yeah, that's not a thing. By and large, not a thing. Mostly mythical, or, you know, PTSD, which is very real. I don't mean to invalidate PTSD. PTSD is very real. Number 3, they're just like LSD. No. Magic mushrooms are, as I say, it's a whole different child, okay? It's a whole different child. Magic mushrooms are not like LSD. I mean, in some ways they are. For example, we can look at the chemical similarities. We can compare psilocybin to lysergic acid. However, the experience is very different. Yes, they are both classified as psychedelics. However, we're talking cherries and grapes here. It's a very different experience. It's actually one of the most common questions I get is, I've tried acid before, like, are mushrooms like acid? Like, similar is one thing, identical is another thing, and the biggest difference is how it makes you feel, right? For me, acid isn't very emotional. It's what I would describe as more sterile. Mushrooms are emotional. I cry on mushrooms. I feel on mushrooms. Now, I feel on acid too, but it's not like a wave that washes over me. For more information on this, please check out my POV video, which is your bestie describing to you the difference between mushrooms and acid. I will go more into depth there. But yeah, mushrooms are not just like acid. They are not just like anything. They're only just like mushrooms. Number 2. We don't know enough about mushrooms to justify use, right? So we see this reflected in the drug classification I went over earlier. We just don't know. We just don't know enough right now. Who knows? Later down in life, you know, who knows this, who knows that? Well, funny enough, people have been using magic mushrooms for thousands of years. Our modern day magic mushroom practice comes from Oaxaca, Mexico, in fact, and an indigenous curandera named Maria Sabina, who actually was part of the lineage of magic mushrooms, the long-standing medicinal lineage. There's a certain amount of invalidation when it comes to indigenous plant medicines that weren't developed in some lab somewhere, that, you know, people may have been doing that for thousands of years, but we just don't know enough with the technology and the science we have now. However, Johns Hopkins, NYU, you know, we can look at all of these different research trials that have proven that we do know enough. Actually, we do know enough to give it to patients in research trials. Actually, in very high-risk situations, you know, people who might be dealing with depression, PTSD, anxiety, addiction. We wouldn't be giving magic mushrooms to these folks if we didn't know enough. And those research trials have shown that not only do we know enough, but we do know the benefits of magic mushrooms. I personally can speak to the benefits of magic mushrooms. Maybe I'll make a video in the future about all the benefits of magic mushrooms. But yes, the benefits are very much real, and yes, we very much do know enough. Number 1. The number 1 myth about magic mushrooms across the board is that they are a drug, or that they are recreational. I mentioned this in my previous videos about magic mushrooms, but I have never been able to use magic mushrooms recreationally, no matter how hard I might try. I can't use magic mushrooms recreationally because it always comes paired with some overwhelming therapeutic benefit, a widening of my tunnel vision, a message of what I could be doing better in my life, or how I could be embodying my highest self to a greater degree. It's a medicine. You can call different medicines drugs, maybe it's just a matter of semantics, but to me, magic mushrooms is a medicine. It's an indigenous plant medicine. It has roots. And for me, my practice involves giving great reverence to those roots. It is not something that you can just pop and go. It is not something that you can just easily have a recreational time without having to also work on yourself or having to be confronted with truths about your reality or how you see the world. It's much deeper, much more multifaceted, much more layered. You know, it's like Shrek.
Ogres are like onions. They stink?
Yes. No.
It's like an onion. It's got layers. It's not just one thing. Obviously, the effects of the war on drugs has painted and tainted our minds in a way that we see things growing up out of the earth as drugs, recreational drugs. But yeah, I'm all about decolonizing the way we see all of that because it's bullshit. And I'm all about calling things for what they are. And not just science, but also indigenous people have been telling us that yes, this is medicine. This is not drugs, this is medicine. So I listen to all those folks, you know, and I listen to my own experiences in myself. And I'm here to happily report that yes, magic mushrooms are medicine. But yeah, what myths do y'all have about magic mushrooms? Or what is a myth that you have debunked for yourself about magic mushrooms, plant medicine, psychedelics, etc. Let me know in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video today, please consider subscribing. I just hit 2,000 subscribers. I couldn't believe it. It took so long to get to 1,000 this spring, and now we're already at 2,000, and I just seriously appreciate y'all and love y'all so much. So thank you for that support. I'm gonna do some future videos that it's like me reacting to psychedelics and films, so please look out for some really fun psychedelic videos, not so educational, more fun and reactive and YouTubey. Those will be coming to you very soon. Please check out my TikTok and my Instagram. I am at Chrysanthellus. I have merch on Threadless that I will link in the bio. And yeah, at the end of the day, don't forget to keep it trippy. Peace.